Perhaps to keep us tied to our heritage, my mother liked to tell us stories about the Marshall Islands, the place where my father came from. One that always stood out was the story of my great aunt. While still a little girl, she remembered going about her day when suddenly she felt as though her whole body was on fire.
The atomic bomb fleet rendezvous for A-Day. Aboard the flagship Mount McKinley, commander of Joint Army-Navy Task Force 1, Admiral William H. Blandy, plans final details. The decks of the 73 test ships anchored in Bikini Lagoon are scenes of feverish activity as scientists plot experimental programs designed to furnish data on radioactive rays, flash burns, and blast effects of the mighty atom bomb.
WWII có màu kagamiang mga diyan na idongan idiwa di jangan ruto kaya wala ka na ang mandir tayo nawadyo na nakaramman ang nur yan ako kumiyang mga diyan na idongan idugun pa nakaramman.
Situated in the middle of the Pacific Ocean, halfway between Hawaii and Papua New Guinea, and inhabited by a population of over 20,000, the Marshall Islands made an ideal place for the beginning of the United States nuclear testing program. The U.S. chose Bikini and Enewetak atolls as testing sites. Not knowing when they would return to their homes, Bikinians were moved to Rongerik, then Kili, while people from Enewetak were moved to Ujalong. For safety reasons, people from Rongelap and other nearby atolls were moved for the duration of a test to nearby Kwajalein, then immediately moved back. This all changed in March of 1954. When the U.S. detonated Bravo, a bomb 1,000 times the explosive power of Hiroshima, they decided not to move any of the nearby islanders.
So maybe it's good if I speak. I feel comfortable by speaking Marshallese.
That's fine.
Kami jajiri kami jang jajiri romata kami yang harden kami kijang terjebul right kami la right im kami do kampa yapan ngai chonin ran eu kata kaya na lam ran kan ngai eta kaya ala jam tak gabilang
ijo yaran ngai ngalo loge edukun kilime tuyang ini harmoda purur ne waktu wali apa kilime yuk iya kalau kalau lagi bayin mereka paham iya rane wali iya pernah rane wali kei orang jaga mereka loe dia ngaitan bobo iba poda iba jo poda emang jo ijo oleh benjo eja ukol ibara tar tungun jago ganagar jago yeno arjino aming jagay enoran bulen bunim malangalang mujalagot medagpar medagdi.
3 days after Bravo, these women, along with other exposed islanders, were unknowingly entered into a secret study conducted by the U.S.
Ke yen go re to kom dukune lale arme je kami ba to elba mi lale planning ka po ja kyurin eto ke elba mi lale tranangane planning ka po ja kan arme ba kan ge elam kuit kom kamani weren palen chije dion iloi bu ja nami pajab kalo ke elam ke elolo plutonium lo ka po ja kan arme.
The group of irradiated Marshallese people offers a most valuable source of data on human beings who have sustained injury from all the possible modes of exposure, in view of the fact that this group received a dose of radiation which was marginal from a standpoint of severe morbidity. In other words, they almost died. There probably should be no exposure for the rest of their natural lives. Only 3 years later, go back to this most contaminated place. Go back so that we can study how the radiation moves from the soil through the plants and into your bodies. And then we can study how it affects your bodies, how you excrete it from your body.
En ang nawala para medyo wrong la prar thyroid kederar leukemia.
Thyroid yeah. Look my thyroid. Here.
Ilang klase ni Majori Rami. Karara chino kewada ano typhoon baby so chalok chop ne me arme. Kiya ilang karara sibung. Dol kun mijolojir. Ilang Majori Ralo da kan dukun. Tradiyoak chat kuidot kamali joair we can see through. I not grave and I not woror bunch of grave.
The Cold War was a very frightening thing for many people, and perhaps, if people felt that the situation was desperate enough, then desperate measures were called for. And I think some of the measures that were taken with regard to the people of the Marshall Islands evidence such desperation. For 21 years, I was the public advocate for the Marshall Islands Nuclear Claims Tribunal. Each of these holds one individual's claim. 2,126 individuals who have personal injury awards, cancers and thyroid conditions. Half of them, more than half of them, are deceased. Now, none of them have received more than maybe 91% of the compensation awarded to them, and most significantly less than that.
We were told by the United States that they would set up this nuclear claims tribunal in the Marshall Islands that would take care of all these claims, past, present, and future. Well, we went through the tribunal. We had a case there. The tribunal found that we were owed $563 million. That's two parts to that. You've got your compensation for the suffering, the human suffering that went on, and the other part of it is money for cleanup, because we don't have enough money for cleanup. That's just Bikini. When you count in all the other nuclear victims in the Marshalls, it's over $2 billion. And the tribunal got $42 million, and that's gone. I think one of the big mistakes the U.S. did make in this whole situation is just not coming out here and doing cleanups and rectifying the mess they made instead of just taking off and leaving it. I mean, Henry Kissinger said once, who cares, there's only 90,000 people in Micronesia anyway. I mean, that's sort of been the callous sort of attitude that we've come up against with a lot of U.S. government officials over the years. And it's really hard to deal with that given what the people of the Marshall Islands, the Bikinians, the Eniwetok, the Rongelapese, the people from Muderik, what they've given up.
The more educated people in the Marshall Islands understand that their islands are contaminated and it's not going away. You know, plutonium has a half-life of 24,000 years. It's not going anywhere. So the more educated they are, the more they might want to leave. And that accounts for the huge numbers of Marshall Islanders who have abandoned living in the Marshall Islands. They're living in Hawaii. They're living in Los Angeles. They're living in Arkansas. They're living in Portland, Oregon. They're all over the place. It's called the Marshallese diaspora.
If you're not going to college or moving on with your life and you want to try to get in the job force out here, you've got a 40% unemployment rate in the Marshall Islands. There aren't jobs, and when you do find a job, you're lucky.